Hello! If you're new here, my name is Alex, and if you are not new here, I am still Alex. And in this very quick video, I am going to break down 10 things that EPIK just simply does not tell you before you come to South Korea. These are the things that you probably won't get told at the interview stage, and these are things that you just find out when you get to Korea, and the whole Korean surprise is very much a big thing over here. So I thought I'd make a very quick video just explaining 10 things that EPIK just will not tell you during the interview process. And of course, if you find this content useful, make sure you subscribe, and if you have any questions whatsoever, drop a comment down below or message me on Instagram and I'll definitely get back to you. So without further ado, here are 10 things that EPIK just does not tell you. Number 1, the Korean surprise. So this is basically just an overview of everything in Korea. So for those of you that do not know Korean culture, the Korean surprise is a massive thing. In the morning, you could be set up to teach 5 lessons, and then a Korean surprise comes along, and then 7 lessons get thrown upon you without even any warning whatsoever. So sometimes it can work in your favor, so lessons can be cancelled, which I guess is a good thing. But also it can be very last minute, as in oh yeah, can you just plan a whole lesson for 20 minutes time? And this is one thing that EPIK just will not tell you before you start the whole process with them. So just be prepared, the Korean surprise is definitely a real thing. The second thing that EPIK will not tell you is your school. So you will absolutely have zero idea of what your school is, what age range you'll teach, what type of school, whether it's elementary, middle or high school, until the very last day of orientation. And I totally understand why EPIK do this, because they don't want people finding out before they even get to Korea and think, actually, no, I don't want to go because I don't want to teach at high school, or I don't want to teach in an elementary school. So I totally understand why they do this, but just be prepared, EPIK will not tell you your school until the very last day of orientation. The third thing that EPIK will not tell you before you move to South Korea is the size of your classes. So a lot of my friends, they teach in the range of about 2 to 3, maybe 400 students per week. However, personally for me, I teach at 2 schools ranging from 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th grade, and actually I teach around about 800 students a week, so it's a massive jump from my friends 300 or 400. But again, it really does depend on your school, if you have multiple schools, and if you are teaching different grades as well. So just keep this in mind, even though some people may say they have 100 students a week, I, for example, have 800, and it very much varies between what school you get, and you won't get told this before you move to South Korea. The fourth thing that EPIK will definitely not tell you before you move to South Korea is your apartment and your accommodation. So you know that you're getting a standard apartment with EPIK, however, you have no idea what the location of this apartment's going to be, you have no idea what the apartment's going to be like, or anything about it until you walk through that door with your co-teacher on the very first weekend. And all apartments over here do come with the standard of having a wardrobe, a washing machine, a bed, a desk, a chair, and some other little things as well. However, in terms of your actual apartment, you don't get to choose this with EPIK. It will just be provided by the school. So if you do want to know what your apartment is, girlies, you're not going to know that until you walk through the door on the very first day. The fifth thing that EPIK will not tell you before you move to South Korea is your co-teacher / co-teachers. So before I moved, I was very much under the impression oh wow, my co-teacher, I'm just gonna have one the whole time. Ding dong, I was wrong. So actually I have 5 co-teachers over the spread of 2 schools, and this can be of a bonus, and also it can be of a detriment too, because a lot of my co-teachers have very different teaching styles, which is absolutely fine for me, it's not a problem. However, sometimes I have heard stories where people aren't getting on with certain co-teachers and everything, so just bear this in mind before you come to South Korea. You won't necessarily know who your co-teachers are, or how many you will have, although you do know that you will have one co-teacher as your main co-teacher that you go to with any problem, to start your paperwork and everything. But your co-teachers could range from having 1 to 5, 7, 8, who knows, until you get to Korea. The sixth thing that you will not get told by EPIK is if you have multiple schools, which again, you will not find out until orientation, your multiple schools will probably most likely have different textbooks. This is the case for my 2 schools, so I have one textbooks for one school and another textbooks for another school. So basically it gives me double the work because I can't transfer my lessons from one school to the other. And it's fine, it's not too much pressure at all. However, just keep this in mind, you might have to have an additional workload than you were anticipating, because EPIK girlies will not tell you this before you move to South Korea. The 7th thing that EPIK will not tell you before you move over here, girlies, is your location. So yes, it is true that you will know your area that you are in. So for example, I knew that I was moving to Daegu before I came over here. However, within this area, you will have no idea until you get your contract on the very last day of orientation. So even though I was placed in Daegu, I was very much set up to be oh, brilliant, I'm in Daegu, a big city. Absolutely not. So I am like the furthest south of the city you could ever go. Like I'm in the countryside, an hour and a half to get actually downtown. So just bear this in mind, even though you may be placed in a city, for example, Seoul, you may be like an hour's journey away in like a placement little village outside of Seoul, but it's technically classed as Seoul. So just keep this in mind if you do have like high hopes of being in the exact location you have in mind, because girlies, EPIK actually won't tell you until you sign that contract. So the 8th thing that EPIK will just simply not tell you is that unless you have signed that contract on the very last day of orientation, there is absolutely no guarantee that you've got the job. I'm mainly talking about like the whole visa process and the whole process to leading up to the very moment that you sign your contract. For me personally, because of Little Miss pandemonium and factors outside of my control and EPIK's control, like my whole visa got cancelled. And originally when I first applied to EPIK. So just keep this in mind, like your job is absolutely no guarantee until you have signed that contract. And fingers crossed like it doesn't happen again, but just keep in mind like these things do and have happened. For me this time around, I literally got my visa 6 days before my flight. But if you can get through the whole visa process, the whole application process, girlies, EPIK is a breeze, because that was stressful. So the 9th thing that EPIK will simply not tell you before you move to South Korea is that you may quite possibly have after school classes. So for me personally, I have 2 after school classes, and these run between 2 and 4 o'clock on every single Wednesday. So this is actually after school for when the students are at school, not when you're at school. So it doesn't actually impact my like working hours or anything. However, just keep in mind, in the way of a Korean surprise, you may be asked to do after school classes that are extra on top of your original hours. And depending on your school, you do get paid like a bonus to do after school classes, and it is not like obligated to do them. However, the vast majority of people will, just out of courtesy, just out of like the need for the students and the school. You are not obliged to actually do after school classes. However, I would probably recommend doing them as long as they're not too stressful for you, because you do get paid a little bit more, but EPIK will not tell you this or warn you of it. And the 10th and final thing that EPIK will not tell you before you sign that gorgeous contract is that it is going to be difficult. When I first applied for this job, I was absolutely under no impression that it was going to be a walk in the park. Like I knew I was coming for teaching in Korea, 9 to 5 job. It's going to be hardcore. And in all honesty, it is a lot more relaxed than what I thought it would be. However, me saying this, like there are times where it is difficult. Language barrier can be a huge problem. And especially working with elementary school kids, you definitely need a lot more energy. If you were to work with high school children, you probably need a greater like knowledge of the English language. So just keep this in mind. Like if you hear like these people saying, oh, it's going to be an absolute breeze. At times, yes, it can be easy if you put the work in. However, don't come under the impression that it's going to be an absolute walk in the park, because at times, it may not be. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope this video was useful. Hopefully it provided you some insight of things that girlies, EPIK is not going to tell you before you sign that contract. Maybe some of them you knew already, maybe some of them are completely brand new to you. But if this video did help you out, make sure you give a cheeky subscribe and a like down below. And if you have absolutely any questions whatsoever about me, life, EPIK, career, absolutely anything, you can message me on Instagram. I'm always available there. Or drop a comment down below. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a gorgeous girl day. And if you are in the process of applying with EPIK, best of luck. And maybe, just maybe, you may see me over here in Gorgeous Girl, South Korea. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. And I will catch you next time on this channel. Bye.